Hi, welcome to episode 245 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my handspun yarns, and we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea. I hope you'll come join us. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, September 9th. The weekend was a total whirlwind, and here I am trying to catch up on a Monday. It is Monday afternoon, about 3 o'clock. I am mid-laundry. I still have to go to the market. I have to make some edits on my pattern because I got it back from the tech editor, and I have several other things to do before dinner and, of course, knitting. So it has been a busy, kind of crazy day. My parents were here this weekend, which is why it was so busy. They flew in from California for the weekend, and so we had dinner with them on Friday night, and then we hung out with them all day Saturday, and then yesterday was an even crazier day. Wes and I had a 10K run, jog, walk in the morning, so we did that, and then we picked up my parents and had some lunch, and then we went to the theater. It turns out that the Kansas City Symphony, and I live in Kansas City in the Midwest, the Kansas City Symphony several times a year does these really cool events where they license to be able to show movies, and then the orchestra, the symphony, plays along with the movies. And so yesterday's was Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, and it was amazing. The symphony played from the opening 20th Century Fox fanfare all the way through at the credits of The Empire Strikes Back. They did it in 2 acts. There was one intermission to give the musicians a break. But oftentimes when you watch movies, even if you are aware of how good the music is, you are not always aware of how much music there is, and light music underscoring a million different scenes. And so it was super fun. And then we took my parents out to dinner, and we got home at 9 p.m. exhausted, went to bed. My husband got up early and went to work. Luckily, I could sleep in just a little bit. And then I have been working today and trying to get things done. This week and next week are big weeks, both at work. I've got some doctor's appointments. I have some patterns coming out. It's just a lot of things going on. So there's a lot to think about. So how are you? I hope that you have had a wonderful weekend. I realize I've been talking all about me, but I hope that you have had a wonderful weekend and are doing some good crafting. I did have a chance to get a little bit of crafting in, not as much as I would like. So some of the things that I'm bringing you, that I'm bringing here to show you today are going to be a little more aspirational crafting, but I brought a few things to talk about. So let's talk about the tea first. I am drinking in, well, first of all, I'm drinking a Teavana tea, and I know that they closed the stores. I don't know if they actually closed all of Teavana or whether they're still selling teas. I can't remember. I'll have to look. This is old, and I will file it with my disclaimer, which is fresh tea is always best, but for a long time I ordered so much that I just didn't even get to it. This one was a favorite of mine. It's a flavored green tea. It's called Strawberry Grapefruit. I think it's Xue Long. It's X-U-E, but I don't know exactly how to pronounce that. The ingredients are hibiscus, apple pieces, lemongrass, orange peel, green tea, orange slices, apple cubes, natural and artificial flavoring, strawberry pieces, and marigold bits. So, and it is almost gone. I actually made a cup today, and I probably have 1 to 2 more cups, and then we're good. And today I'm drinking in a brand new mug, and I'm super excited about this mug. In the pen community, one of the people in the pen community is also a potter. Her name is Julia, and she is from Sweden, and she runs Semi-Cool, S-E-M-I-C-O-O-L, Semi-Cool Ceramics on Etsy, and one of her specialties is she does these really cool tentacle mugs. You can see it's a regular mug in kind of a sea green, and then the handle is a tentacle. And I've been wanting one forever, and it turned out she was in the States recently, so shipping actually I had a friend bring it back for me from a pen convention. Normally shipping's expensive because it's pottery and she has to wrap it delicately and it's coming from overseas. But so I picked up a tentacle mug. I'm calling it Tentacular. She does have more in her shop, so you can check out her shop on Etsy. I will put a link to it in the show notes. But I am drinking my strawberry grapefruit tea in my tentacle mug. And that is nice and citrusy, and I really like it for the summer. Although it is hot, I may throw it over ice when we're done here, after it cools off a little bit, just because it would be a great iced tea. So let's talk about what I've been working on. First of all, I have a big finish. Actually, part of the reason I don't have a ton to show you is because I spent most of my time working on my Love You Baby brioche shawl. Again, this is a sample for Zen Yarn Garden, and I knit out of 3 yarns that she sent me, and I forgot to bring the leftovers. I meant to show you. The shawl uses up most of the 3 skeins. So I would guess I probably have maybe 25 to 30 grams left over out of 3 skeins. Not a lot. So it is pretty true to yardage. So let's talk about it. This is called Love You Baby. It is by Sosu Knits, who is Suzanne Summer. It was originally designed as a knit-along shawl for Do You Knit in New Jersey. It was designed to be done in hedgehog fibers, but I actually knit one for myself in 3 colors of Zen Yarn Garden fingering weight yarn. I believe I used the superfine fingering. This time I used the superfine fingering base, which is a superwash merino, and it is lovely and bouncy and super soft. But I also used their Serenity 20, which is a merino cashmere nylon base. So it's 3 skeins of fingering weight yarns in 3 colors, and then the sections are worked as a combination of colors. It is a variety of textures as well. So the first section, which I have showed you for the last few weeks, is a big brioche section. It comprises a good majority of the shawl, and that is colors A and B. And as you can see, color A is a white that has turquoise and cherry color and some brown in it. And it was actually the first one that my eye was drawn to. And then the B color is this bright, crazy pink and red and white, which there are a ton of shades in. If you look at it really close up, there's more than 3 shades in there. So that is the A and B section. It is technically reversible, although one part of the shawl makes this not 100% reversible. So that is the first section. The second section is a garter stitch section where you are using colors A and C. And in this case, it's not super defined because A and C are pretty close together. So that is a garter ridge section. The third section is a seed stitch section, which makes a really nice texture, and it is knit solely in color C. So that is that. And then the final section is a little bit more brioche, and that's in colors B and C. And this time B gets the highlight on the front. So this is a big shawl. This is pre-blocking. I will probably do a light steam block, but it is a great 3-color shawl. So notes, I knit the pattern exactly as written both times except for one thing. The shawl originally calls for the I-cord border at the bottom of the scarf, which is a really nice finishing technique. But the I-cord border at the bottom of the scarf to be in colorway B. And I did not have enough B when I knit the shawl either time to make it through the I-cord border. So instead, what I did is I had the most yarn left over of C, so I went ahead and did the I-cord border in C. Now the top I-cord border was supposed to be done in C, but what I did is I just worked it all the way around. So no modifications except for that final I-cord border, and that is 3 colors. The colors went together better than I thought, actually. When we first pulled them out, it was Roxanne, who dyes all of the Zen Yarn Garden, she's the head dyer, and she was the one who pulled out these colors, and I thought, oh, I don't know if that red and pink is going to be too bright, but I think it looks great with all the different colors and textures. So that is a finished project. I need to take some photos. Well, I need to do a light steam block, take some photos, and then mail that back to Zen Yarn Garden. It's going to be used as a booth sample, and another exciting thing is that they opened a shop. They are located in Sarnia in Ontario, which is just over the border into Canada, north of, I think, Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I have to look carefully. But they just opened a shop that is now open Monday through Friday for some retail hours. So if you are near there, you should definitely stop by. So that is my Love You Baby shawl, and it is sample knit and going off to where it belongs. So that is the big finish. I finished that on Friday. Saturday. I finished the I-cord edging Saturday morning. I finished the big knitting on Friday. And so that is ready to go and something off my plate. And that I had allocated the month of September to. So I am done early and very excited about that. The rest of September is supposed to be allocated to the children's sweaters, and I am still waiting on that yarn for Roxy. It's supposed to come today, and I'm delaying going to the market because the market is right next to where my post office box is. And so I am hoping by the time I go up to the market, the yarn will be delivered so I can start working on Roxy's sweater. Again, it is going to be a kind of striped raglan in DK weight. I'm using Valley Yarns Superwash DK, and she had originally specified light pink and light blue. But I don't really care for the colors together. I'll show you them next week. But so I ordered some navy, and I am just waiting for the navy to arrive so I can continue to work on her sweater. I'm working on her sweater first, and then I will work on Miles' sweater after that. So, because I had nothing on my needles for the rest of this weekend and I wanted a little something to work on, I decided to cast on for something that isn't necessarily slotted or due this month, but is coming up. And that is, I decided to work on a hat for Roxy. I decided that I would use fingering weight held doubled. I don't have a lot of worsted weight, and I particularly don't have a lot of worsted weight in colors and fibers that work for the kids because they have to be washable. And in general, I don't buy a ton of worsted, but I buy a lot of wool and not superwash. So what I did is I went through my stash, and I don't know what I did with the label now. Well, that's annoying. I'll have to find, oh, you know what? It might be in here. It might be in here because I thought I put it in here. Let's see. No, I guess I didn't. I wish I had. I wonder what I did with it. I can tell you what it is, though. I went into the stash and picked out a skein of fingering weight superwash merino. I believe it is a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. It might be 85-15, but I think it's 75-25. And this is in black trillium fibers and in their pebble sock, which I really actually like. I've knit in it before, not particularly in this colorway, but it is a super tightly spun 2-ply. I don't know if you can tell. Let's see if I can get you to see. I don't know if you can see that super well. It's not focusing super well, but it is a really tightly plied two-ply, and I really like it. It's super soft. It's nice to knit with, and this colorway was a special colorway that they used to raise money for, I think, the International Rescue Committee. It is called Not in My Name. And so it's got blues and pinks and a little bit of purple, and I just thought it would be really nice and fun for her. And I am doing the Pearl Soho Classic Cuffed Beanie, although I am actually not doing, I'm doing the hem, but I'm not actually doing the fold over hem, the double layer hem, because my yardage is going to be just a smidge short, and I want to be sure I get a nice hat and a nice pom-pom. So I'm holding it doubled, which takes the speckles and, as you know, makes them look just a little bit different. This is what I've got so far, and it is super stretchy. This is like, it's on a 16-inch needle, so it's kind of, just lost a stitch, of course. It's kind of scrunched up on the needles, but this is what the yarn is looking like. Sorry, I've got yarn tails and things hanging everywhere. This is what the yarn looks like when it's doubled. So you can see those little pops of pink, and then it's just very blue, and it's pooling a little bit, but I just switched to larger needles, so the pooling might change, or it might, it looks like it might actually, what is that called? I can't remember. The one where it might spiral in pooling, and that is fine. This was just supposed to be kind of a fun, cushy hat for Roxy, and then whatever's left I will throw into a pom-pom. So I did about 2 inches of ribbing and then started into the hat. I'm not very far in. I would say I'm about 3 inches in total. I worked on this a little bit last night at Star Wars, and I will continue to work on it until the yarn for her sweater comes, and maybe even finish it this month because it is a hat. I made a list of everything that I still need to make for the kids because, of course, I am doing their sweaters, and then I am also doing some winter gear. I need some hats and mittens and socks and a scarf, and I have been tossing the stash looking for varieties of things that I need to to knit with and finding them to varying levels, but I thought this would just be a really nice one for Roxy. So, and then I'm going to use the leftover light blue yarn that I'm not using for her sweater to make her a hat and mittens. So that is what I'm working on right now. I'm not upset with myself for casting this on because, like I said, I needed to cast something on, and this is one of the things that I need to be working on in the coming couple months so that I can get them some winter gear, because it's going to get cold before we know it. I know it's not right now. It's certainly not here today. It's been hot and humid here, but I do know that it is September, so I will see them for Thanksgiving, so I have about 2.5 months to finish with all the sweaters and winter goods. So, the final thing that I pulled yarn together for, and let it be known that I have no business pulling anything together right now. I have 2 more samples on the way, plus, like I said, I have the kids' sweaters, I have all their winter knits, and if I'm really looking for something, I have a couple whips that I could go back to. I have my boxy, which I really do want to get to and want to be able to wear this winter. So I have no business starting on something new, but of course, you know, there are these patterns that when I look at them, they catch my eye, or it's something that I've wanted to knit for a while, and I finally think of the right color combination that I want to put together. So what I pulled yarn for today and ransacked the bins for just before the podcast is for an Esjan. It's called Esjan, and I'm not sure if that's the correct pronunciation of it. It might be Esjan, but I don't actually know. It is a Stephen West pattern, and it is a semicircular shawl. And it is knit in worsted weight. You need 3 skeins of yarn, and I happen to have some worsted weight in my stash. Well, okay, I'm using 2 worsted weights and 1 fingering weight, and I'll just double the fingering weight. And so these are the colors that I'm using. The first yarn that I bought not long ago is Kelburn Woolen's Germantown, and this is 100% North American wool. I believe that this is not superwash. But it does not say. What does it say? It says hand wash, dry flat, low iron, do not tumble dry. Okay, so this is Kelburn Woolen's Germantown. This, I was going to say this is their most recent yarn, but it's actually not, because they just, in the last week or 2, released a new yarn. So this was their previous release. I want to say it was released last year, right around November, Christmas time, because they are providing a year of hats, which are free patterns to kind of welcome Germantown this year. And there's a new free hat pattern each month. So if you want to check that out, that's Year of Hats by Kelburn Woolens. And this is Germantown. It's a 220 yard, 100 gram skein, and the colorway is rhododendron, and it's kind of a burgundy cranberry color, and I just really liked that, and I got it because I thought maybe I would knit one of their hats, but then it was just a good semi-solid, and I wanted to see what I could make out of it. So that's my first color. My second color is yarn left over from my Sizzle Pop shawl earlier this year, and this is a yarn from CJ Coho, and I had wound it up, or I had rolled up the tag and put it in the middle. It is her Ontagon base, which is 85% Polworth, 15% silk. It's an 8-ounce skein, DK weight, 662 yards, and I do need to weigh this and be sure, but I think I have about 200 yards of this left over, and even though it's a DK, I think it could be a light worsted, so I think I can work with this. So that's the CJ Coho tag, and this one is in the colorway Crowley, and it is this dark gray. So these are the 2 dark colors that I have, and then I decided that I wanted a light color to kind of offset them, and I knew that I had a bunch of skeins of speckled yarn in my stash, and that I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with them, and I went back and found this skein of Lorna's Laces. This is Shepherd Sock, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, approximately 430 yards. So that will net me 215 yards doubled. And it is in the colorway Color in the Clouds. And it just has a bunch of rainbow speckles. So, and I wanted something that wasn't too heavy in the speckles because I don't want it to obscure the pattern or kind of ruin the effect of the shawl. If you haven't seen this shawl, it's got some big holes in it and some garter ridges, and it's got some really interesting visual elements. And I absolutely did not want to take away from that. But I did want to add just a little bit of speckle and color. And so these are my 3 colors for my Esjan. And I think it's going to be really nice. I have no idea when I'm going to knit it. If Roxy's stuff doesn't come, then I might let myself cast on tonight if I do a little more work on the hat. This is going to be kind of one of those things that I'll work on in the shadows. I should be working on a whip. I have no justification for this whatsoever, except that I want it and fall is coming, and so I am just going to let myself do it, and this will get done as it gets done. So it, it may be done in a few weeks if I get a bug up my you-know-what. Or it may take me months. So I'm just going to leave this to the side. I'm probably going to use this as the carrot for some of my knitting, because although I love knitting for the kids and sample knitting, doing a chunk of knitting on a sample knit or mittens, which, as I've told you before, I don't love, if I get to a certain milestone in it, I could let myself do a few rows of my shawl. So I think that's what I'm going to cast on, sort of to have waiting in the wings. I do, of course, need to do more socks and more hats and mittens and all kinds of things, but I haven't done a ton. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have done a bunch for me this summer, but I just wanted to use some stash and work on something fun. So that is going to be my shawl. So I managed to kill quite a bit of time talking about those. Let's talk about spinning. Basically, I don't have anything to show you for spinning. I believe this is the same ball I showed you last week. This is the second half of the spin that I have been talking about. It is in some mystery wool. I think it's merino because it's super soft. It drafts nicely. It is in golds and purples and oranges, and it's got some blue in there. And I am doing this probably as a fractal spin. I spun the first half in thin strips, and so this one I might spin all in one, or I might break it into two and then do the strips that way. But I have the second half of this to spin this week, and hopefully I'll get back to my spinning wheel. I didn't craft it all over the weekend, other than just a smidge of knitting when we were a few places. Mostly I was hanging out with my parents, so I will work on those this week, providing that time allows. So I did pull out another spin, sorry for the crinkling. This one is a Hello Yarn fiber. It is called Snappish, and it is a Corriedale wool top. And my Corriedale is my favorite for socks. And these are some fun colors. It's purples and teals and browns, and actually it's not crazy dissimilar to this one, although this one has the orange in it, and I guess this one has a little bit more green and white and is a little bit more muted. But I want to spin this up for some sock yarn, and I haven't decided if this is going to go in the shop or not. I sort of want to be selfish and keep it for me, but I haven't knit with the couple other skeins of sock yarn that I've spun up for me, so I might let this one go to the shop. But so that is what I'm going to work on next week. Hello Yarn Snappish, and I am positive this was a shop update. This was not a club colorway, and I've probably had it for a few years because that stuff tends to sit with me. So that is what I'm going to work on in spinning for this week. And I think that brings us to the end of the podcast. So I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. I always appreciate when you choose to spend some time with me. And I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. And I will say, until I see you again, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping. And I'll see you next time. Bye.